Welcome all sports fans. I'm Dolph Jackson, one of the hosts of the Come On In Sports Network, a brand new sports network catered to sports heads like yourselves. Here on the Come On In Sports Network, we'll be covering the latest topics and current sporting news from around the world, such as baseball, football, basketball, and more. So sit back, relax, put your feet up, and come on in.
The Come On In Sports Network. The Come On In Sports Network.
No, we not. We already did that. How you doing? Come on in. It's your boy, Dolph Jackson. I'm here with my brother, the co-host of the Come On In Sports Network, Mr. Zach, the Real Fan Sports. And tonight, baby, we get our college football on once again. Last night, we were talking Power 5 football with the SEC. Tonight, we're going to be talking G5. Who's that team? Who's going to represent the group of 5 in the first annual 12-team playoff? To help us answer that question, tonight, we bring a special guest on. He's one of the hosts of the G5 Hive. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Luke. Luke, how you doing?
Great. I was vibing to that music. I was getting me. I'm ready.
Soundtrack on YouTube, baby. He got it going.
I'm liking it. I'm ready to go. Anytime I can talk football, especially G5 football, I get excited. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you guys reached out to us. I'm glad when you think of G5 football, you think of the G5 Hive.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. It's an honor and pleasure to have you here, man. Listen, man, we're going to get right into it. But before we get into it, man, Luke, let's tell us a little bit about yourself and your show. How did the G5 Hive come to be?
Well, about a year ago, I was looking for G5 football. So I play a lot of college fantasy football. Don't know if you know that exists. Okay. That's the thing.
Yeah, I play college. I love college fantasy. Yeah,
college fantasy football exists. And then there's these leagues called campus to Canton leagues, where instead of having you have your regular dynasty drafts and whatnot, but this is you draft it. You have your NFL team and you have a college team, and then instead of having a freshman or a rookie draft, just any guys that got drafted just go onto your NFL team. So you're trying to build this like pipeline of guys. So like, right now it's peak supplemental season is what we call it, where you got 15 rounds, you're drafting incoming freshmen or guys that are free agents because you got 134, 136 teams. So there's a lot of players out there, and not everyone's rostered. And I was in one draft last year that Malik Neighbors was like an 11th round pick in my supplemental draft because he wasn't rostered on a 12-team league with 45 roster spots put together. Like it's wild. It's the wild west out there. There's not a lot of content out there, but a lot of places where you gain your edges is the G5 because you can put up a lot of points. It's like, all right, I'm going to grab this guy from Texas State. I'm going to grab this quarterback from James Madison. I'm going to grab this running back from Tulane. Whatever it is, like that's where you can kind of win some of your leagues. And I was talking to Justice. I reached out about last year, and I was just like, hey, I've got this idea. I want to get to know more of the G5 teams. I read a lot, but then when you see words and then you hear words, they're a little bit different. And I can kind of make whatever I want words to look like mean, but like, tell me about it from like the people that are there. So then we started reaching out to beat reporters, or in some cases, especially in the MAC, super fans, or reporters for the schools themselves of like, hey, you're at practice every day, you're seeing this stuff, I'm reading this, does this jive, what are you seeing, what's kind of lipstick service, or what's lip service here, and what's real. And so we're, each episode is anywhere between like 45 minutes to an hour, and we're with the beat reporters, the guys and gals that are at practice every day, seeing things and what they see, and giving us and everybody else information. What we're doing is during the season we'll go live about 10:30 p.m. Eastern time with all the news and notes from around the G5, and we've built a network of these beat reporters. So we have questions, we have somebody right there that can answer it. So it's very unique and very awesome, and it was something that we were hoping like, oh, maybe we'll get like 10 interviews, and we just scheduled our last 2. So in 2 weeks we will be done with all 64 G5 teams. There's 62 G5 teams, and then you got UConn and UMass that are independents. UMass joining the MAC next year, so we've added them to the mix. So we will be done with all 64 teams here in the next 2 weeks.
Dolph, you muted.
Okay, that's great.
Without Dolph being muted.
Listen, it's never
it's okay.
I muted it because my kid and the dogs in the background. Right? Okay. And then I say, I remember to unmute it, but I'm so used to just running my mouth, man. You know what I'm saying? But hey, Zach always got me, man. If y'all smart, y'all should bet the over under next time. if I'm gonna be muted or not. Might win you some money. I'm just saying. Oh man, but that's great, man. And listen, man, I check your content out, man, and I'm gonna be doing some of the stuff you guys do. I'm gonna be reaching out to you, man, because I really like the work that you guys are doing, man. And I'm glad you guys took the initiative to cover the group of 5.
I like how it's interesting, like a big part of it is, from playing college football, because I haven't done or fantasy college football, because I haven't done it in a couple of years. It's been quite some time, but my dad was my dad's a big sports guy. I was young. I was probably like 12, 13 the last time that I did it. And he knew all the secrets. He knew all the, he knew all the little schools. He was a little bit of a sports bettor on the side, so he knew everything. And we ran things up that year. I think it was probably one of the best fantasy leagues. I don't think we lost a match. And it's because of that. Them schools, they get overlooked, and them players, they get overlooked.
And that's the other thing too, is like the information, it's real football information, and you can take it with a fantasy spin. You can take it with a betting spin. Like, oh, okay, they're light at linebacker, they're light at deep. Okay, maybe I'm just going to bet the overs. Maybe I'm going to bet the unders. It's like, okay, I know they're not very good at the O-line. It's like, okay, well, maybe I bet the under first halves. So it's like, it's information that's not really out there that you can spin it into a betting way, a fantasy football way, or just you're a college fan and you want to know more, and it's just information. You can kind of take whatever way.
When my dad was teaching me the betting side of things, that probably sounds bad when I was younger, whatever. But like he used to teach me all of it back in the day, and we always hit on the group of 5. Like that was the teams, because like there's holes. Like the overs are normally working. The line for the favorite team is normally going to run up, because there are certain weak spots, certain areas, like you say, because it's not a top school, so they're going to have weak points. But teams like Tulane, for example, they're coming up now, and I saw they got them ranked 5 in the group of 5 this year.
I mean, they're unique. They are, I would say, I would almost say like a Dollar General or a Walmart brand of Boise State, because they've got a lot of new players. They got a new head coach. Pretty much they bring in the whole coaching staff over from Troy. And then they bring in Ty Thompson from Oregon. He's going to be the starting quarterback. At least he's got get the first crack at it. And then, I mean, you keep Mekhi Hughes, who's a huge running back, almost ran for 1,400 yards last year. He's a special kid. But then they bring in Mario Williams from USC. They bring in a whole bunch of guys that we'll see on paper looks really good. Just will it gel? Is UConn going next year to the MAC conference? They are not. That is UMass.
Not
UMass.
UConn.
Not
And of
UConn.
course, that's our own personal law firm, Anna Marie Elizabeth Rose Pulowski, checking in. Thank you, as always.
What's good, Dan? How you doing?
What's going? Thank you for being here, as always. And shout out also to Samuel. Like Samuel said, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All right.
I can see UConn. You know, I know it's not G5, but I can see UConn going to the Big 12 because the Big 12 is trying to, really get those basketball schools together. You know, and I could see them trying to go for UConn, not necessarily for the football, but for the basketball.
But for basketball, right now they're the power. They are the power in college basketball. That would be a nice move for them to get UConn basketball.
And I think like Big 12 is probably going to try to go out for Memphis too. Again, well, they've got football, they also got basketball. So,
in your estimate, what happens to the American Conference? Like you say, Memphis may leave. Do you think there's Memphis and Tulane? Do you think they remain in American or they leave?
I think they'll stay in the American at least for a little bit. The thing that's unique about Memphis is that they got that FedEx money. They get $5 million for the next 5 years, I believe it is, with FedEx. So I think they're going to stay there, but I think it's more so the Big 12 trying to get people to join them, and then who can they convince? But like those, it just seems like I guess I don't really know what's going to happen with the ACC. We don't know what's going on there. And then the ACC, if they start to disband, it's how much goes over to the Big 12. And like I said, I think Big 12 is really taking that spin on basketball because you get, Colorado, you get Arizona, Arizona State, those types of schools. So,
got you. Speaking of the ACC, Florida State and Clemson, we know those are the two big fish. If Florida State and Clemson leaves, is the Big 12 their first destination, or do they go Big 10?
I think they want to go SEC. I don't think the SEC wants them. Is kind of how I see that going, because you kind of already have Florida teams in the SEC. You already have the South. So what does Florida State really bring? You've already got Florida and stuff. So I can see the Big 10 being the best fit for Florida State and Clemson. The other part that I guess maybe I would say the average fan doesn't think about that is big for the Big 10 is getting USC, getting Washington, and then if they were to get a Florida school, not only does that you got this travel and stuff, but then you can go to California and recruit kids. Like if I'm the University of Iowa, I'm here in Iowa. If I'm the University of Iowa and I have a game in Florida, I can go watch those kids at IMG Academy. If I go to California, I might be close enough to Las Vegas to go see some of those kids. So that's a big aspect too of this whole conference realignment stuff is it opens up pipelines to other states that you maybe weren't in because it was hard to.
Got you. Samuel asks, are you on Instagram?
No, not on Instagram, just on the Bird app, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean
that's where we're at currently. I have an Instagram that I post things for this. I would have to look. I'll look it up as we go, but I think it's like Luke Probasco or Probasco Luke, something like that. I'll look it up here.
All right, Luke. All right, Luke. Well, Sports Illustrated has their college football HQ has their top 10 G5 schools, and at number 10, they got Miami of Ohio. What can you tell us about the Redhawks, the Miami of Ohio Redhawks?
So Miami of Ohio Redhawks, I believe they are the betting favorite to win the MAC, and I do think that they do win the MAC. They got Brett Gabbert coming back. He broke his leg last year. Wasn't sure if he would come back. He is coming back, and he's, I think, third on the touchdown passing list for Miami of Ohio. He is currently sitting. Give me a quick second. He is currently sitting at 59 career touchdown passes, only behind Ben Roethlisberger and Zach Desert. So he probably won't. He might reach Zach, but I don't know if he'll reach Ben Roethlisberger. So very, very accomplished quarterback, and he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in the MAC this year. So I think that that's one of the things that they have over the other teams in the MAC that might set them apart. And their defense is really good too.
Okay. So skill wise, who would be their leader skill wise? Playmaker. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, Brett Gabbert's going to be the main guy there. He's going to kind of make everything go. So as he goes, that team will go. Let me get my notes up here quick for them in particular. So Cade McConnell, wide receiver, he's going to be the guy. Jack Cold Iron, he is a tight end. He will be a big part of their offense. All-time name, Cold Iron, great one. Javon Tracy, also a wide receiver. He will also be a guy for them on the offensive side of the ball. And like I said, defensive side of the ball, they've got a whole bunch of guys. So, I mean, pretty much you can, like, when it comes to the all-MAC team, like, you'll see probably multiple defensive linemen. You'll probably see multiple linebackers, probably multiple DBs. Like, they're stacked there on the defensive side.
So running back Rashad Amos last year led them in rushing. Who is scheduled to be his replacement? Is he gone or does he come back this year? Last year he had 1,075 yards with 13 touchdowns, average 5 yards per carry.
So he's gone. I'm trying to think where he went off to. Rashad Amos, I think he ended up at Colorado.
So he's in transfer period. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. He went there. Give me a quick second on Miami of Ohio. I want to get their roster up here. I was going through all those interviews. It's hard for me to remember exactly.
Of course, I understand. Yeah. Hey, it's Saturday night. Kids asleep. We good. All right. Last year, Miami of Ohio. What did they finish last year? Returning down. They have a young man from Donaldsonville too, but see, he's transferred to South Carolina and gave LeVraden 42 catches last year, 679 yards and 6 touchdowns. He'll be playing for South Carolina this year. He was their leading receiver last year.
So I'm trying to remember exactly who it is going to be as their running back, but Dylan Downing, I think, is going to get a lot of carries, and I think that'll be kind of this running back by committee. Anyways, but Dylan Downing, he'll probably get the guy. Otherwise, there's Kenny Tracy there as well. But if I'm a betting man, I would be betting on Dylan Downing to be that guy to take over.
Downing.
But they ran the ball a lot last year because Brett Gabbert got hurt in like week 8, week 9, somewhere around there. So they switched to a big run heavy approach. So they're gonna throw the ball around a little bit more than probably the stats would show from last year.
Right. So Dylan Downing, like you said, last year, Downing 48 attempts, 211 yards, average 4 yards per carry. And also you have junior running back Jordan Brunson last year only had 12 carries, but had 137 yards and average 11 yards per carry. So like you said, running back by committee until one of these young men establish themselves as the man. So Miami, the Red Hawks come in at number 10. Number 9, Luke, is a program that has steadily improved an up-and-coming group of 5 team in Texas State.
Yeah, Texas State is a fun team to watch. If they are on TV, you are going to want to watch this team. This team is explosive. They bring in the Sun Belt Player of the Year, transferred from JMU over to Texas State. Jordan McLeod is going to be their quarterback. You got Joey Hobart, you've got Cole Wilson. They are going to be a team that just throws the ball, and is fast. They got Ishmael Ahmadi, a really good running back there. He can catch the ball, fast as heck. We did an interview with him back in like February. He's going to be a guy to watch. In general, this whole team is going to be fun, and they might. Some would say they're probably the favorite to win the Sun Belt. I think that they're in the championship game. I particularly like App State and what they can maybe show during the course of the year to beat Texas State. But if Texas State, wins the Sun Belt, I will not be surprised. But the Sun Belt over the last 4 or 5 years has been one of those conferences that was not looked at very highly, and now top to bottom, one of the best conferences in the G5. If you were to probably ask the average fan, they're going to tell you the Mountain West, because you got the Boise State, you've got these programs that have shown whatever. You got the Boise State over Oklahoma game. You got these other games, but I think the Sun Belt is the best, and you're going to have some teams that have a bad record, and it's not because they're bad. It's because it's a really hard conference to play top to bottom, as opposed to maybe some of the other conferences that'll have good records, but maybe, couldn't hold a cup of water in comparison to being in the Sun Belt.
Gotcha. Now, quarterback T.J. Finley, did he transfer to Western Kentucky, or is he still at Texas State?
He's at Western Kentucky. He is poised to start at Western Kentucky.
Okay, so T.J. Finley has gone to Western Kentucky. He won't be there. So who gets the call on the center now?
That is Jordan McLeod, conference player, conference MVP of the Sun Belt at James Madison. He went to the transfer portal, and he's now there at Texas State.
Texas State, Jordan McLeod. And looking at Texas State, take a look at their schedule. Bring their schedule up right quick. They open up with Lamar. Then they battle the American as they take on Texas San Antonio. Then their first big matchup is against Arizona State on September the 12th. Is that a game that they can be more than competitive in? Is that a game that they can, if Arizona State's not coming to play, do you think Texas State can not only keep it close, but actually pull an upset?
I think so, and the reason why I even believe that more than just yay nay is because Arizona State comes to Texas State, so you get them at home. You don't have to travel. The thing about Texas State is their defense needs to be improved a little bit more. So that's if Arizona State's going to win, it's because Texas State's defense wasn't as great. But Texas State, they're one of those teams that's probably going to put I would assume that they're going to put over 30 points up a game. So
very explosive.
It'll be a track race, and I don't follow the P4 now, as I call it, as much as the G5, but I know what they're, Arizona State's building some stuff, but they've had, the COVID deal where they've got some scholarships taken away, some guys left. But Kenny Dillingham, I think, is over there, and he's trying to build something there, and I think he will. But I think that'll be a really good game. And if you say that Texas State beats them, I won't consider that a huge upset.
Okay. And some of the commitments this year, Kevin Carter, outside linebacker, Jamarian Finkling, quarterback, defensive tackle. I never thought I saw that before. They got a commitment from a kid. They got a vote as a quarterback / D tackle. I got to see this kid. Hey, Luke, do you have any idea who this young man is?
I do not. What's his size?
Okay,
Like, how,
let's see.
that's
Yeah,
what
I
that's
got
what
it.
I got to know. And he's probably just like a fast athlete that like can maybe
Okay,
be an option back.
it was a misprint. It had to be, yeah,
Okay.
because they got him at he's from Muskogee, Oklahoma, right up the road. He's a dual threat quarterback. Oh no, yeah, that's a misprint, man. They got him here as a 6'2", 190-pound quarterback. Okay, that makes most sense because I was like,
Okay.
weird. I don't know, it's something in the world and different these days. You start getting a quarterback slash defensive tackle, you really special.
That's something different right there.
That's really something different right there.
That's something
All
different.
right. Number 8 on the list, Troy. Now, Troy lost their head coach and most of their staff. But what do they have coming back that can maintain the success that they've had under former coach John Summerall?
I would not agree with this. Have Troy at 8. I wouldn't even have them list here. So I don't know what their over-unders are, but maybe if people think that they're this high, I would bet unders. But they're going to have breakout wide receiver Zariah Beeson. He's going to be the guy there at a wide receiver position. We did an interview with him last week. You can go check that out. G5 Hive on YouTube. It's going to be Goose Crowder is going to be the quarterback there. I think he's got like 3 passes to his name. I'm going to go check the stats, but like it's going to be running the ball a lot, and
he only has 94 yards. Goose, I got him for you.
Goose Crowder, he had 3 games, 13 attempts. So not a lot of experience there. Chris Lewis is another wide receiver there. Unfortunately, he will not be playing this season. He got diagnosed with cancer last year, and so he's battling that. So prayers over there with Chris Lewis. He's just a dynamic wide receiver. Their big loss is probably Keami Vidal. He gets drafted, I think, in the 6th round, 4th round, something, there to the Chargers. He was a guy who had over 1,600 yards rushing. So you bring Damian Taylor back. He had 346 yards rushing last year. But we will see how this staff uses that running back room. They will lean on Damian Taylor, but like I said, it's going to be a lot of running the ball, I think. And then they had Jabari Barber, one of their top wide receivers. He transferred out. You got Chris Lewis with his situation. So there's a lot to wonder what Troy looks like going into the year, and I don't think I would have him 8 on here.
Right, and their most experienced wide receiver returning is junior Zariah Beeson. He's 6 feet, 200 pounds. Last season, he had 20 receptions, average 11 yards per reception, almost 12, actually 11.8, 236 yards and 1 touchdown. And there is literally nothing behind them. You have Robert Bruce, a junior. Nothing really behind. You have Chris Lewis, but that's the young man we say I believe is dealing with cancer, if I'm not mistaken. You have Peyton Higgins. Last season, Peyton Higgins, 12 receptions for 167 yards, right under 14 yards per reception. So, but
the other thing about this defense, they bring in a whole new staff, and from last year, their top 12 tacklers on the defense, they lose 10 of them through either graduation or the transfer portal. Let me count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No, their top 14 tacklers from last year. They lose 12 of them, bring back 2. So you got a whole, like, that Troy defense was nothing to joke about the last couple of years. So then you bring in a new head coach, a new defensive coordinator, new kids. I don't think that Troy defense is going to be the Troy defense of old. It's still going to be good. That's what Troy prides himself on. So, it won't be bad by any means, but it's not going to be the Troy defense that we're used to. And then, again, bring in a new offensive coordinator. You got a lot of new things going on the offensive side. I'm assuming they've spent all offseason trying to work on that, but there's a lot of moving pieces in Troy.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, there's little Vardell last year, man. He was a workhorse, 297 carries, 1,661 yards rushing. That's ridiculous. The kid, and here's what
he just got the ball all the time.
All the time. Damian Taylor was next. He carried the ball 67 times for 346 yards. He also averaged 5.2 yards a carry, which tells me that one thing Troy had was a good offensive line up front, leading the way for these young men. All right, so Troy comes in on this ranking at 8. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, that's fine. I was gonna look at their offensive line, what they have coming back. I was trying to jog my memory, but my computer is taking its time. It is thinking.
Computering.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I like that. Computering.
Man, G5, don't let us find out you still got the dial up, man. Come on now.
So they have. They lose their left tackle. They lose their right tackle. They lose their left guard. They bring back their center and their right guard, and then they lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offensive linemen that graduated, that played meaningful snaps. So you have your center and right guard coming back, and then you're trying to fill out a lot of depth. So, you said, they had a lot of experience there on the offensive line, and there's going to be, like I said, a lot of moving parts.
Number 7. Those Bulldogs, Fresno State.
Where's 9 when you need them, man?
Yeah, where's 9 when we need them? What's going on with these Bulldogs, baby? Fresno State Bulldogs, they come in at number 7. What's the skinny on the Bulldogs, Luke?
So they will be a team that we'll be previewing here in the next couple of weeks. But Mikey Keene, he is their returning quarterback. He threw for just under 3,000 yards. He had 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. They bring back a good rushing attack with Malik Sherrod and Elijah Gilliam. Malik Sherrod's their stud. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He runs well. He got hurt a little bit at the beginning of the season, and it was almost like a plug and play. They put in Elijah Gilliam, and he did really well. But then when Malik Sherrod came back, he kind of took over. Malik Sherrod had just under 1,000 yards rushing. He had 9 touchdowns. Elijah Gilliam had 5 on the ground. That rushing attack looks pretty good. Offensive line-wise, they bring in 2 transfers on the offensive line. Receiving. They bring in 2 transfers from the receiving in the D2 level. I am kind of curious on how this offensive line looks. They do only lose 2 guys from the offensive line, but with talking with their beat reporters there, that was kind of one of their concerns. Even though they bring back their right guard, their right tackle, their left guard, and left tackle, they only lose their center. They're a little bit worried about their offensive line and think that they're going to have to do a lot of quick passes. And then that kind of makes sense because what you're seeing them bring in are these small, speedy wide receivers from a D2 level. So I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense of what they're doing. So you got Malik Sherrod coming out of the backfield. So I expect a lot of small, dink and dunk passes, get people out in space, a lot of yak coming from, or at least that's what they're going to try to do there at Fresno State. They do lose Eric Brooks, but they bring back Jalen Moss. Like I said, bring in a couple guys from the D2 level. And then Malik Sherrod, like I said, he can catch the ball. Last year, he ran 311 routes and had 51 targets. So, he's going to catch the ball. He's going to do some work there. They, defense-wise, they lose a couple guys. They lose linebacker Level Bailey. They lose DB Carlton Johnson, and then Maurice Norris Jr., a safety that they lose. They were pretty impactful there. Have a couple guys that transfer out, but they do bring back their leading tackler on the team, Dean Clark, who is I think he's a senior DB this year, and then Malachi Langley is a linebacker who's just 1 tackle behind him in for the team. So they do, their room will look pretty good on the defensive side. So this will be a team that you want to keep note of, and Micah Keene is going to be that guy leading the team there.
All right. And
So
speaking of,
how do you feel with them there at 7?
I guess I don't know the rest of the staff there,
rankings
but I would
yet,
have, yeah, but I would have Texas State ahead of Fresno State for sure. Like I don't have Fresno State in my championship game there in the Mountain West.
Okay. Now, and speaking of running back Malik Sherrod, only 5'8", 177 pounds, a do-it-all, dual threat running back. Last year, 966 yards, 9 touchdowns, averaged 5.6 yards a carry. Also is good in special teams. As last year, he bought a punt back against Boise State, showed his explosiveness. And to be a smaller guy, he's not afraid to run between tackles also. So looking at his splits last year, in the month, his best month was in November. He had 64 carries for 388 yards and averaged basically 6 yards a carry and 4 touchdowns, and his longest run was 62 yards. So this young man would definitely be looked upon to be that workhorse. But again, he's the type of back, on being 5'8", 177, he's in space. He's the type of player you want to get in space. Let him touch the ball any way he can. Special teams, again, very explosive player. So Malik Sherrod, the senior running back for Fresno State, who comes in ranked number 7 in the SI College Football HQ poll. Luke says there's no way he'll have Fresno State in front of Texas State, though. Maybe do they even play each other? Let's take a quick look at their schedule. I would love them to play. I don't think they do. Yeah. Okay. No, I don't think they play. All right. Let's go. Number 6 on the list. I'm Zach interested in this. I'm interested in this one.
Me too.
Everybody's calling doomsday for Tulane. They lost their head coach who came and listen. He built the program. Some differences with. Go ahead, Zach.
I would say, but Dolph, you seem to really like the new hiring. Whenever it was initially made.
I like Summerall, man. He's been successful wherever he's been. Look what he did at Troy. Look what he's doing in the recruiting. I mean, he's brought in some former 4-star, 5-star players. Quite honestly, we weren't getting. Now the thing is, how fast can this team gel? They have a hell of a schedule to start the season. I mean, they got Kansas State actually comes to Human Stadium this year. You go to Oklahoma. So, I think they'll be better at the end of the season than they are at the beginning of the season. So, Luke, what's your thoughts on Tulane?
Tulane's an interesting team. Like I said, it was kind of like the Walmart version of Boise State, because they bring in really good guys, but it's not like a 5-star Malachi Nelson and I believe 5-star Chris Marshall going from Texas A&M to maybe it was Ole Miss and then JUCO, and then over there a couple mishaps that he had. But like on paper, it looks really good. Like you said, Summerall's a really good coach. He's going to coach up that defense. That defense is going to be really good. They're going to run the ball like they did at Troy. Guess what? They got a pretty good running back in Mekhi Hughes.
They got a hell of a running back.
I mean, I think he was like 30 yards, 20 yards away from 1,400 yards on the ground. Like the dude is a workhorse back. And when we talk to their beat reporter, they're like, we're hoping that he has like 1,500 yards rushing. Like they're going to utilize him a lot. Yeah. And like Ty Thompson, he's going to come in. So that was, one question that we had for him, because Kai Horton looked pretty good for Michael Pratt when Michael Pratt was hurt here and there. Yes. And then he hits the portal, and then Ty Thompson comes in, and then he comes back. So we're like, tell me about that. Like, why would a 4-star come in and then you decide to come back? Like, was it NIL money? Was it this? And they think really high of Kai Horton, and it sounds like Ty Thompson is going to get that crack first. He actually at the University of Oregon didn't get a lot of playing time because he had an injury in high school on his, I believe it was his right foot, with his push-off foot, and it never got to feeling right. So in the off season, before he transferred, he actually had surgery. I'm gonna assume, no one's told me, I'm gonna assume it was a tightrope surgery, kind of like we're seeing everywhere else, and he's feeling really good. So he's gonna feel different than he ever has, but he's gonna get that first crack at it. And then they bring in Mario Williams, and he's gonna be the dog there. They said it was in like 3 practices. They're like, all right, like, we don't need to see anything more. We're shutting you down. And then he was like coaching the rest of the team of like, here's how you do this. Here's what you do here. And he was pretty much this second coach out for them. So, he's going to get a lot. And then people were really big on Arnold Barnes last year. He was a freshman who came to campus early, didn't really do a lot. He kind of banged up a little bit, but it's a chance to show out. I could see something from him. He got Shady Clayton Johnson. He'll get some, but like the huge loss is Chris Braswell II. He was just a monster.
Yes.
Like, he goes to Tennessee. They couldn't keep him, so that's gonna be hard. But like I said, they bring in Mario Williams, so I think they'll be fine there. But it's gonna be those 3 that are leading this team on the offensive side of the ball. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you bring back 2 really good linebackers in Machado and Grubbs. They led the team in tackles last year with 98 and 85. You got a couple guys coming in, Aiden Hurrington. You got a couple guys that go out. You got Caleb Ransaw. He comes in. Right. He's a really good safety. But like, there's a lot of ins and going, but like, like Troy mentioned, there's a lot of differences. There's a new head coach. There's a new offensive coordinator. There's a new defensive coordinator. There's new kids, and I'm worried about them. I'm not as worried about Tulane. Bringing really good coaches. The kids, sometimes talent can just outwin really good players that play a system really well. And I think they brought in some really good talented kids. Right. So I think this is going to be a team to be reckoned with. I am most looking forward, and I really hope it's televised here in Iowa because I really, 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 really want to watch it. USF versus Tulane, September 28th. I want to watch that game. That game is going to be huge. USF. I anticipate we're going to see them on this somewhere. And Byron Brown is electric. They bring over that Tennessee style offense, and they're going to be going, and then Tulane's going to be running the ball, and I'll be curious on how Tulane's defense is at that point, because it might be who has the ball at the end wins. And honestly, I think whoever wins that game plays Memphis for the AAC championship game.
So what about that competition like draws your attention? Is just because they're 2 very competitive teams, or is there any matchups that you're really looking forward to seeing?
It's just that like those 2 offenses going together. Like USF, like when I'm looking at the AAC, there are some teams that I really think could win it. Like, no one's talking about Rice. Rice brings back 21 of 22 players. They bring in E.J. Warner from Temple. E.J. Warner, son of NFL Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. He knows a thing or two about football. You can't convince me. No way in heck that he comes to Rice on a whim. That whole offensive line damn near comes back. Like, he knows what he's doing there. Dean Connors, a running back there, that if you don't know Dean Connors' name, you're going to need to know him. He's going to be a guy. They've got Bowden Groen, a good tight end there. Ransom, he's going to be a wide receiver there. The defense is going to be good. But, like, I feel when I look at Rice's, I'm like, okay, I feel really good about 7 wins. They've got 3 that are like coin flips and 2 losses for sure. and I don't even have them in the championship game. And you got Memphis. I'm like, okay, they got 9 for sure wins, 3 toss-ups. Like the thing about Memphis, if Memphis beats Florida State, I will not be shocked at all. Like, and if they lose a 1-score game, it's like, okay, that's a team to be reckoned with. A team that no one's talking about because they're young is Tulsa. Tulsa's another team that I'm like, I got 5 wins that I think that they for sure have 3 toss-up games, so they might be in that 8 total. They've got like strength of schedule 131 out of 134 or 136, so they got a really easy schedule. They've got some good receivers there in Camden Benjamin, Jalen Ballard. They bring in, or Jeremiah Ballard. They bring in a couple good. They've got a couple good freshmen and Tim Carpenter at quarterback that he'll sit on the bench, but like he'll get. Also, will be a team that people will be talking about in the coming years, maybe not this year. And then it's got USF and Tulane. And USF, when I look through their schedule, they've got 7 wins I feel comfortable with. Tulane, they've got 7 wins that I'm comfortable with. Tulane just has 2 toss-up games, and USF, I have 4. So I think it's going to come down to that USF Tulane game to figure out, who's battling out Memphis there in the ACC championship game.
Gotcha. Number 5 on the list, Appalachian State. Listen, if you know college football, you know Appalachian State. Some of the biggest upsets in college football. Who can forget that upset when they went to the Big House and embarrassed the University of Michigan? App State, plain and simple, their leader is coming back. Joey Aguilar last year, 3,757 yards with 33 touchdowns, only 10 intercepts. And the young man was 27 in the nation in QBR with a 73.2. Joey, App State, is App State a serious contender from the
Absolutely.
group of 5 for the college football playoffs?
If Liberty loses a game, it is against App State. Liberty has to go to Boone. They have to play at App State. I'm trying to remember what game that is in the season. I feel like it's week 3, week 4. It's there in September, but it is going to be rocking. That I've never been to Boone, and that would be a game I would love to be a part of, love to see. That will be a great atmosphere. That will be a game to watch. I'm sure Liberty will be later on down this line, but App State, I feel like App State can win the Sun Belt over Texas State because of App State's defense. They have a really good defense, and Joey Aguilar wasn't even their starting quarterback last year. Jalen Berger was their quarterback. He got hurt. They throw in a transfer quarterback named Joey Aguilar, and he did really, really good.
Got a question for you, Luke, from the law firm. Sure. I would not be surprised if in time the AAC will in time go away with larger conferences taking the remaining teams. Your thoughts on that?
I would not disagree with that. I'll be interested to see what they do. There's a lot of talk around private equities coming in, which I really hope they don't do, but I can see some conference director doing, or conference president doing, and say, look, we just saved this conference from going under, and they don't have to end up dealing with any of the ramifications of what happens, because private equities, they work, that's why they exist, but once they get their money, or when they don't get their money, then they start piecing everything out and keeping what they want and make it their own. So that'll be like, do you want to use your credit card to pay for this stuff and you can't pay for things later? But yeah, AAC could be a team like we mentioned earlier. Like if I'm the Big 12, I'm looking at Memphis. I'm trying to get, I can get Penny Hardaway in some of these, at Kansas, at some of these schools, and if I can get UConn, that's just where I think the Big 12's one of those teams that they're taking a different approach and looking at maybe more of the basketball schools. So, but like the AAC doesn't have a whole bunch of those basketball schools, so we'll see what they do. And then who knows? Maybe what I would like to see, if things keep going, we get a Power 2 conference and we just got the SEC and Big 10 or whatever it's going to be, is that we have the Power 5 teams get together and they go for like you got the Rose Bowl, where you get the Pac-12 and the Big Ten going together. Well, what if like the G5 had bowls like that, where it's like all roads lead to New Orleans, and you play at the New Orleans Bowl, or all roads lead to Idaho, and you're playing at the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, or something like that, where you've got 5 conferences. Right now, one G5 team is going to get into the playoffs, so it's like, hey, it's going to be these 2 conferences, and if that conference team is in the playoffs, then this other team is going to rotate in there, and you kind of have like these 4 teams are always going to play each other, and then you've got a rotating team that'll just kind of like jump and fill the gap. I think that would be really, really cool. So I didn't see that last question there. I think it was something about like, do you see any teams being added to the AAC? And right now I don't see them getting larger currently. I think the next team to do anything is going to be the Mountain West. You talk to Oregon State fans, you talk to Washington State fans, they are a P4 team. Even though they only have 2 teams in their conference of, I don't even know what they are. They're not the Pac-12. Pac-12 doesn't anymore.
Pac-2.
The Pac-2.
You're playing all of the Mountain West teams, but you say you're not part of the Mountain West. So then I'm asking Mountain West teams, and they're like, yeah, they're part of the Mountain West. So it's like, the Mountain West is claiming them, or at least the fans and people around them. They're claiming them, but they're like, yeah, no, we're not them yet, and they're kind of in the stage of denial. I feel like we'll see how this year goes. But Mountain West, I think, is going to be that next big step, because that's the thing right now is, I believe the name Pac-12 still exists, because there's who owes this and who owes that, and that team still gets an automatic playoff bid. So if I'm the Mountain West, I don't want to keep the Mountain West. I want to go to the Pac-12.
That's what I was just about to ask you.
So that I can keep that playoff name, because to be a conference, you have to have at least 8 teams, and obviously the Pac-2 does not. So that will be interesting to see how that goes about there.
So Luke, let me ask you this: if they came to you right now and they say we need 6 teams to add to the Pac-12 to make it a conference again, give me 6 group of 5 or P4 schools you think that would make sense and could legitimately compete in the Pac-12.
In the Pac-12, okay. So I'm going to probably start in the Mountain West, and I guess I would take Colorado State. I just really like what J Bell's doing there. I think I would take Boise State for obvious reasons.
Right, of course.
Wyoming, I might take Wyoming. They are a fun team. They're an up and coming team. They've got a good quarterback that people probably don't know too much about, Evan Sabota. He is going to get all sorts of comparisons to one Josh Allen. He looks like him. He's got a rocket arm. He's not Josh Allen, but like when you hear about Evan Sabota, you will hear Josh Allen comparisons without a doubt. I think UNLV is a really good team, and then you got Las Vegas. I think there's a lot of attraction around Vegas. Like, oh, if we can have a Vegas team, that that's something. Like, so let's hear. That's 1. That's 2, 3, 4. And if I have to add 2 more teams, that's the problem. It's like I've got teams that I like, but they're so far away. But then I'm also like conference realignment. Like travel doesn't matter. You've got
look at
all over. Like I don't.
Hell, Cal, you got Cal in the ACC, man. I mean, come on.
It's proven right now that they do not care about the students as far as that goes, even though they should.
So I don't know.
How is that going to work for the student athlete?
I will
East
be
Coast
curious
to West Coast.
I believe
pray for them.
Man, home team should win every game.
The thing that is the other thing that people aren't thinking about too is like a lot of people just gravitate towards men and women's basketball and football, but there are softball
Baseball.
teams, baseball
Yes.
teams, rowing teams. There's all sorts of teams that was like, all right, well, you also have to ship them the same
Yes.
across the country. Like I was joking with Justice the other day. I was like, oh, the ACC. It's like it's the Atlantic Coast Conference, and of course, Stanford's in there, right along the Atlantic Coast. Maybe it just stands for All Coast Conference. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make sense. You got this California teams that are a part of the Atlantic Coast Conference. That doesn't make sense. So, yeah.
Hey, I like that name. I like that name. It makes sense changing to that. Yeah, All Coast Conference, because it damn sure ain't just the Atlantic.
True.
So coming in at number 4, Luke, we got the Memphis Tigers. A lot of people are high on this team. What are your thoughts on them? And before you give us your analysts on Memphis, can the group of 5 get 2 teams into the college playoffs?
I personally think so, but from a money standpoint, I still don't know how things are figured out from a college perspective. I don't think so. I think only one gets in, and I think it could be Memphis be one of those teams. I just don't. I don't picture them getting 2 teams into the playoffs.
Gotcha.
And I think they deserve it. I will not. They deserve it.
I think they deserve to get 2 teams in too.
National media. I just don't think they'll put them in there.
Okay. So Memphis, number 4 on this list. Do you think this is too high or too low, or just about right for the Memphis Tigers?
Too low.
Too low.
Low for the Memphis Tigers. I am
no love
in on the Memphis. I am in on the Memphis Tigers. They are. I think they could be that team that represents the G5 in college football. I do have them as the winner of the AAC. I have Seth Hennigan as the conference MVP because he's going to be the reason that Memphis goes the way that they go on there. So,
Rock Taylor, Demir, what is it? Blankamuse,
yeah. Demir Blankamsey. They bring in a transfer from South Carolina. He led the Gamecocks in rushing yards last year. Mario Anderson Jr. He comes in. He's going to be a name you need to know. We did an interview with him a few weeks back. Again, you can catch that on the G5 Hive. He's going to be great. But yeah, he's going to be the guy. Sutton Smith is going to be a twitched up guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. He will be dynamic. You'll get to see a little bit of him. But like I said, Seth Hennigan, as this team goes, Seth Hennigan will take them. And the key names you're going to need to know there, Rock Taylor. He's going to be the number 1 guy. You're going to want to know Demir Blankamsey. He'll be another guy. And then Mario Anderson, I think, is going to be that big name that you're going to need to know.
Right. All right, number 3 on the list, Liberty. Here's a program that arrow has just been burning straight up. I'm very impressed with this program, where they've come from, and Liberty, they have a good football program. They have a good foundation. They're ranked number 3. What should we be looking for from Liberty this year, Luke?
When I'm going through their win totals, they've got a cake of a schedule. I'm trying to let's hear Liberty. What do I got?
Liberty. Let's see.
I think I'm trying to remember what it is, but like,
their
only test is at App State.
That's it. Yeah,
it's App State. That's their only test. Kenan Salter, he's a guy. I believe he was at Tennessee. Had a couple run-ins with the law, I believe. Then he goes to Liberty. He goes into the transfer portal. Then they get him to come back. he's going to be the guy that I think he does have also some pro upside. But Liberty, they are one of those teams. When I talk to people around the organization, around the city, Liberty has P4 money. Very, very similar to SMU when they have that oil money. Then they go to the ACC and they're like, well, you're not going to get paid for the first 7 years. And like, don't worry, we're good. It's like, oh, you can afford that. Liberty's got some good support there that they can get some guys that maybe other areas can't because of maybe NIL donations there or collectives, I would say. No. But yeah, you've got Dante Lee Jr. is going to be the guy that you're going to really want to know there. They also bring in Cannon. I'm trying to remember where he transferred in from. Maybe Purdue. He was a late after spring transfer. He's going to be a guy that Salter's going to have to throw it somewhere, and it's going to be him. You've got Quentin Cooley is going to be the running back. They really leaned on Cooley last year because everybody else got hurt. He's going to be one so you're going to look at those stats and you're like, oh, he's going to be the guy. They're going to rotate between three guys. It's going to be Quentin Cooley, Billy Lucas, and Von Blue. Von Blue's a freshman that came in last year that everyone was high on. Then he had an injury, and then this spring he had a shoulder injury. I mean, he really hasn't played a lot of snaps, and he hasn't been able to show that he can stay healthy. So that's one concern. Their defense is pretty good. CJ Brazel, he's going to be like one of their joker roles. He's pretty good. But I think App State is going to be that team because of how disciplined and well established that team is. I think that they can be that team that knocks off Liberty.
All right. And looking at their schedule, my trap game and Janji game for them is November 29th. Sam Houston State is now
absolutely
is now a FBS school. They are no longer Division 2. Go ahead, Luke.
Here's my hot take. I have Liberty wins this is not a hot take. Liberty wins Conference USA Championship.
Gotcha.
But it's over Sam Houston State. Sam Houston,
yes.
I think betting over-unders on DraftKings is at 5 or 7. I can't remember which one. But I would bet over on Sam Houston. Sam Houston had Shoemaker as their quarterback. He was okay. They bring in a transfer Jace Bauer from Central Michigan, but nobody is talking about this kid, Hunter Watson. He comes in. He is a transfer, JUCO transfer. That I think from talking with people around the team, and we talked with I'm trying to remember his name, but he's with the collective over there. He's a guy that they're really high on. He led Iowa Western Community College to the 2023 JUCO National Championship. He threw for just under 2,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Noah Smith was the only guy on that entire team that played in every single game, but they bring back a guy that they are very, very high on, and that's Quatavius. Quavez Humphreys. So Noah Smith had 79 receptions for 783 yards and 6 touchdowns, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't really care. It's Quavez. Quavez is the guy that you need to know." It's like, oh, okay. He was hurt all last year, so that will be a team that's going to throw the ball a lot. They are fast paced, and I think Hunter Watson, if he doesn't start at the beginning, comes in later, maybe game 4 or so, and I think he leads Sam Houston to a championship game, and because of that, I have Conference Offensive Player of the Year as Hunter Watson. Conference MVP is going to be Salter, I believe, but I believe Hunter Watson is the name nobody's talking about that you do need to know.
Gotcha. Number 2 in the rankings, University of Texas San Antonio. And Luke say, "Woo!" Luke say, "Woo!"
Embarrassing.
Led by quarterback Frank Harris, the senior comes back after last year passing for 2,506 yards and 18 touchdowns. He was 40th in the nation in QBR with 67.3 rating. He also threw 8 intercepts. The leading ground gainer coming back for the Road Runners will be Southmore Kevaron Barnes last year, 147 carries, 715 yards, 6 touchdowns, and basically he's at 4.9, so he averaged 5 yards per carry. And from Luke's reaction, you can see Luke does not agree with having UTSA as the number 2 ranked group of 5 team heading into the season. Luke, the floor is yours.
No, I'd probably have them there at the 7 spot, whichever one. I'm trying to remember first showed up that I was like, oh, I don't agree with that one. Maybe it's Troy. Maybe it's Troy having them there where Troy was.
Yeah.
So Frank Harris is actually out of eligibility. He was kind of like the Perry Ellis of Kansas, who like never, he was just always there. Frank Harris is out. They will be led by sophomore, I believe it would be Owen McCowan. So Josh McCowan's son, he will be leading this team there. He threw for 442 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So people are really interested to see what that team looks like with a new quarterback. They do bring Kevorian Barnes back and Robert Henry. So if I'm remembering, UTSA also brings in Frankie Harris as a freshman. Frankie Harris, I believe, is, and as weird as it sounds, I believe he is the younger brother of AP All Day.
Okay.
Somebody fact checked me that, but I believe he is Frankie Arthur Jr., I believe, or Frankie Arthur is AP's little brother. Might be cousin. I'm pretty sure it's his little brother. I was like,
Frankie's
no way. I'm like, yeah, he's a running back. He was supposed to go to UCF and then was not able.
You said
you got there.
Yep, high school football UCF recruit Frankie Arthur, brother of NFL legend Adrian Peterson, starring at Oak Ridge in Texas. This was a report from last year, so obviously not on the same team now, but yeah. So yeah, that's crazy.
When I saw that, I was like, no way! Like Adrian Peterson, no way. And that was the case. So he comes in there. So I think they are going to run the ball. Kevarian Barnes is going to be that guy mostly between the 20s. Robert Henry is going to be that guy inside the 5. Kevarian Barnes is still going to get his rushing attempts, but Robert Henry last year had 588 yards rushing. So when you look at the running numbers, Kevarian Barnes had 147 attempts, like you said. Robert Henry had 127, like you said.
11
Henry's
touchdowns.
Yeah, he had 11 touchdowns versus 6 from Kevarian Barnes, and Kevarian Barnes had more rushing yards. So it's going to be that between the 20s and then inside the 20 type guy.
Gotcha.
They bring back Devin McEwen. He is I guess he'll be a sophomore next year. He's a dynamic guy. He had 42 receptions for 546 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, he's the guy that comes back with the most touchdowns. Joshua Cephas, he is graduated. He had 10 touchdowns. So there's a lot of things that they have to figure out. David Amador, he is another. He'll be a sophomore next year. He's kind of a rising name there that you need to know. Oscar Cardenas, he's like one of those guys that like he's kind of seen everything. He's going to block a lot, but he catches like these big catches in like big moments. Like you'd be like, oh, he's got like 100 touchdowns. It's like, oh, he's got like a career 5 touchdowns. It's just like always in the biggest moment he catches.
Gotcha. He shows up one time.
Yep. So the big thing is going to be how does Owen McCowan? He got to start there in the bowl game. I'm trying to remember the bowl game that was, but he went against Chad Pennington's son, and Pennington is going.
Was that Marshall they played?
Yeah, they played Marshall, and and Pennington is going to be the start. He's at least going to get the nod to start off things there at Marshall. It makes me feel old. You got Chad Pennington's kid. You got you got like all these guys that I watch playing on Sundays. It's like
it's only a number. It's only a number, brother. It's only a number.
Yeah, but yeah,
Right.
defensive wise, things aren't so bleak. I mean, it looks like your normal run of the mill defense that lost people to the portal, brought people back. They weren't like devastated with any
Right.
huge guys that really left. So yeah, that I don't agree with them being at number 2. I mean, I want to put them at 8, 10.
Gotcha.
Okay, but it's going to lean on how McCowan does at quarterback.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he had a QBR of 70.4. Got to protect the ball, though. 4 touchdowns with 3 intercepts. So ball protection, of course, is one of the most, not the most important thing in all of football, no matter what level you play on. Protect the football. All right, and number 1, the Boise State. And that damn blue field it is. Shout out to Boise State, man. Man, Boise State ranked number 1, Luke. Should Boise State be your number 1? Or what do you even have Boise State in your top 5 or group of 5s?
Yeah. They're definitely in the top 5. I think Boise State will be one of those teams that might be on the outside looking in at the end. And it's not because they're bad. It's because they have a really good schedule where it's like they have 6 wins. They have 1 for sure loss, I feel like. And then there's 5 coin flips. So how do you do in those coin flip games? That's going to be the telltale sign. They're going to lean on Ashton Genty. Ashton Genty is the man. He is going to be a name you're going to need to know. He is going to be on Sundays. Boise State has a good job of turning out running backs there. On my Twitter itself, at Probasco Luke, I've got an interview with Ashton Genty that I did when he was a freshman. He's got a great story. His family is a military family. He traveled a lot. He was over in Italy, not too far from where Kobe Bryant went to high school there. And I was like, what's football like overseas? And they're like, it's this field of grass, and our stadium has got concrete seats, and we've got a couple weight room, like equipments that like should work, but sometimes the cables are broken. And then, you're playing different academies, like you're playing different academies from the military in different countries, so you're traveling a lot and you're playing both ways. And then his junior year, I believe it was, goes to Texas 6A football. I think they're in Fresco, and just tears it up. Boise was one of the first teams that saw him there. They offered him. He commits. Then you got his senior year. Then all the P5 teams at that point come in. They start knocking. He's like,
right.
You weren't in on me at the beginning. I'm going to Boise. Then all the stuff here with NIL. I know a lot of teams came after him, and I know there was a large sums of money thrown at his way. And I know for a fact he took more than half to stay at Boise. Like, wow. He believes in what they do there. That is, he's a tremendous kid. He's got a tremendous story. He's like, I know I was talking to somebody with the team there. He's squatting over 600 pounds. Like, he's a thick boy. And we did a interview with a couple Air Force guys, Bo Richter and I'm trying to remember Trey. He's going viral right now for the Kermit the Frog deal there with the Raiders.
Yeah, I just
Trey
saw that.
Harris, I think.
You might be right.
And we're like, who's the hardest, guy that you had to go against offense? And they're like, Ashton Genty, because like when you you think you can stop him on the run, and then like he slips out for a pass, and then he's like juking you, like they're like, he is so good. So he's my guy for conference MVP of the Mountain West. I honestly think that no running back is gonna win the Heisman again. It's a quarterback award, but I think Ashton Genty might be there in New York for that ceremony. Gotcha. He's gonna tear things up. up there, and then
All
like
right.
Malachi Nelson, their five-star quarterback from USC. He transfers in, got a lot to prove, but I do like Boise up that high. I probably have them at like 2 or 3
Two or
on
three.
paper.
Okay.
They're one of the best, but I think record-wise they might lose a couple of those coin flip games, and they might be outside looking in. But I would not be surprised if they are representing the G5 in their in that in the
And then playoff.
So
Gotcha.
who would you say is your number one then?
My number one team is probably Memphis.
High on Memphis. Gotcha.
Yep. Boise State's probably 2 now that I think about it. But it's like, it's just like Memphis has all the things and they have the stuff coming back. They've got a lot of continuity, while Boise State, they have really good players and all the talent is there. But then I haven't seen it all gel yet. So, and if you have a couple hiccups on your way there, then you might miss out. And I feel like Memphis, their schedule looks nice. Again, if they can look good against Florida State early, Florida State loses a lot of guys. You might catch them before they can figure things out. And even if you lose, 1 score a game or something, that's going to look good in the committee. So I think it's Memphis's. I think this is Memphis's year.
All righty, family. We have been joined by Luke, one of the hosts of the G5 High podcast. Luke, listen, your family now, man, which means you're welcome back anytime. We will be reaching out to you during the season. It was a pleasure and an honor to have you here. Darius Luke's YouTube channel. Listen, him and Justice, they do a great job over there. Please go and subscribe. I'm subscribed. Great content, Group of 5 college football, like you said. Interviews with reporters, the beat reporters who cover the teams. Great interviews. They do a great job over there, and we definitely gonna be staying in touch. But it's been a great show. Luke had to get the babies down first, man, and
we had to do a late one.
Yeah. So we had to do a late one, man.
Man.
No worries, man. We appreciate it, man. And listen, family. This has been the Come On In Sports Networks. Come On In College Football. We're doing it all, baby. We just started, but we keep telling you, we're the hottest, and newest, and freshest sports network on all social media. And don't forget, NFL season is here. Everyone's in training camp. So be prepared for the greatest and best pre-game show on all social media as the NFL turns. If you don't know, hit that link. Join the Come On In Sports Network, and you'll see what we're talking about. It's been a pleasure. So on behalf of Zach, Luke, and myself, we want to say to everyone, have a good evening. Stay safe, family. And like always, the doors are now open. So you already know. Come on in. And we out.
The Come On In Sports Network.